Hello, everyone. I welcome you to another learning workshop. In our session today, we shall learn how our experiences would help us cope better. Before we get into the story, I would like to spend some time here sharing with you, helping you understand what basically forms our experience and its impact on our mind. So, typically, if you look at our daydreams, our thoughts, our sensations, our worries, all of this are passing through our awareness, which means as we experience life, both from the external world and within our own internal world, each and every passing thought or the sensations, the feelings that we experience or we gather from the external world or from the internal world forms our experience. To simplify this, something that has happened to you is, in simple words, defined as an experience. Now, this something can be a plethora of things, both from the external world and the internal world. And together, they form various kind of experiences, which then are like neural activity in our brain, because each of what we are sensing, whether it's our feelings, our emotions, pleasant ones, unpleasant ones, they are creating a neural activity in our brain, which then form our memories. And this is how we attach or assign a meaning to our memory and call it an experience. This is a diagram of a neural pathway network. My intention here is to further simplify this to help you understand that every time we experience something, as I just mentioned, from our external world in form of a thought, an emotion, a feeling, a sensation, unpleasant, pleasant, any of it, it creates a pathway. This pathways and this diagram, even though I'm trying to simplify it, it's one of the most complex mechanism of our organ called brain. And here's in this session, we are not trying to cover this because this is beyond the scope of our study. What I'm just trying to help you understand here through this mention of neural pathways is that it plays a key role in forming our memories as we assign meaning to it, making it pleasant or unpleasant, and at the same time, creating our experience. Now let's look at Sophia. When Sophia came to me for coaching, her problem was her low resiliency levels. She was really not able to cope with her difficult times. And if you ask me what were her difficult times, she was undergoing two major key changes in her life. First was her personal loss. She lost her grandmother, who was like a parent to her. And after the demise of her parents, her grandmother was responsible for her upbringing. So her recent demise had a deep impact on Sophia. And at the same time, in the same time frame, Sophia also found a major breakthrough in her career where she found herself in a role, a global role, in a leadership position. Now, the problem with Sophia was, since she was low on resiliency, meaning her ability to adapt to sudden changes and crises, she was finding it extremely difficult to cope both with her unpleasant experience, which was the personal loss, and the pleasant one, which was a major breakthrough in her career. So, back to the neural pathways. Let's assume these are Sophia's neural pathways. Now, when Sophia asked me this question, that why is it that I'm not really able to cope, she found herself almost in a conflicted situation and state of mind most of the time. I explained her the similar diagram of how we need to now train her brain to get rid of the old, to let go of the old and embrace the new. And how do we do so? I explained her through an example. In one of her narratives, Sophia has mentioned that she would go for a walk to the old garden. I'm mentioning here old garden here because she was in a habit of taking a particular route to an old garden that she's been going to since her childhood. And this way, if I were to ask her, like in one of her narratives, when she mentioned about her walking activity in the morning and about this old garden, I asked Sophia that can you recall all that you see while you go to your garden and come back? It was very easy for her. She said yes, and then she could even give me very, very minute details of everything that she saw and has been seeing for past so many years. But then, when I asked Sophia of her recent project where she had relocated to another town for almost 6 months, where she continued her activity of morning walk, but here she would choose another garden. And I asked her how easily can she recall each and every minute detail of this particular location. Her answer was a kind of mix of guesses, assumptions, and little bit of what she knew of the time that she stayed in that new location, and every time she went to the walk, all that she observed. So this is how, taking the same examples, I explained to Sophia, this is how our neural paths or our neural networks work. A path that you've been taking for years create a neural pathway in our mind wherein the new one would take time. It means we have to train our brain in a way where sometimes we have to let go of the old and embrace the new. And using this analogy of her walk to the old garden and to the new garden and her ability to recall each and every detail, I told her, look at the way your brain has been building that neural path as you walk of several years and the neural path of this new walk to this new place and garden where you find it a bit difficult to recall these details. This is how our brain works. Now, if you find yourself low in resiliency because she was conflicted with two major changes in her life, the job for me to help Sophia was to help rebuild those neural paths, let go of the old and embrace the new. I gave her one more example and I've mentioned it here. Sophia was, besides her work, I asked her her hobbies, and in which she mentioned about her um, cooking was something that she was very fond of. So I said, when you work in your old kitchen of past 12 years, this is what I've gathered from her narratives. And if there's a power outage or somebody else comes into your kitchen seeking your guidance, for you to locate each and every ingredient, the place, the furniture is so easily embedded in your mind through the neural networks because you've been working in that location for a very long time, 12 years, using various utensils and ingredients for your cooking purposes. Now, if I pluck you from here and put you into a new territory and ask you to make something, you will might take some time to really acquaint yourself with the new, where your brain again will be working on creating new neural pathways to familiarize itself with the places where the utensils are kept or the ingredients are kept and how and what you need to do to maneuver around the kitchen. Same way, using this additional example along with her garden walk, I explained to Sophia how our neural pathways are formed, how with the repeated practice they get further strengthened. And this is also how we get a bit hardwired to our old habits. And therefore, when we are trying to teach our brain, our mind, to learn something new, which is also the life skill of resiliency, we need to put things into practice. These examples proved quite beneficial to Sophia. And in our next 3-month course of coaching, I taught her how to cope with the loss of her grandparent, because this has been since her childhood to her mid 30s. She's only seen her grandparent as her parent taking care of her. So, in her grandparent, when her grandma was quite ill and she was her caregiver, Sophia had her brain neural activities had learned to be a caregiver. Now she has to learn to cope with that loss. So, one part of our coaching assignment was helping her cope with this major change in her life. And the second one was to get her ready to a new opportunity she has at a global level of a leader. So, this is how, through some basic examples from our day to day life, like her walking to the old and the new garden and her cooking skills into a new kitchen or the old one, Sophia was able to understand a little basic of how neural pathways are formed and how practice is very important if she really wants and commits to build her resilience. Friends, just like Sophia, I can't emphasize more on the concept of practice if you really are into building your resilience. And unlike her case, each one of us are different with our own unique experiences. But if you really want to build your resiliency, be more mentally tough, I'm leaving my coordinates in the description box of this video. Connect, and I look forward to teach you how you can, just like Sophia, excel both with a loss, that's your negative experience, and with opportunity that's knocking at your door, so that you worry less and live more. Thank you.